resources. You'll want them, you'll need them, and you may have them or you may not. When do I use what? Well, it turns out there's lots of different kinds of resources. Yeah, there's the money, but there are other things to take into account. Time, knowledge, skill, location. So here's what I want you to start with. What does the person living with the brain change still have as a resource? What can they still do? When do they do it? When do they do it well? When do they have issues doing things? How do they do things? So they're part of the team and they're a resource, but keep in mind, they're a ever-changing resource. So now you can look at yourself. What resources do you have? And there might be financial and time and skill and knowledge involved for you as well, but you may also have commitments and you may not have the resources you wish you had. So remember that team building? We want somebody on our team who is knowledgeable about what resources it might take and what resources are available, and whether or not, if we look around, there might be other resources that we didn't know about, or maybe what we have is exactly what we think we have. So we've got to make do with what we have. What we want to be thoughtful and careful about is that we don't hold on to resources thinking we'll need them later, only to find out that there wasn't a later. And maybe we should have reallocated some resources for the here and now to make life enjoyable, doable, valuable, and sustainable for us and for the person we're supporting. So as we're thinking about resources and making use of resources, that team, it's vital that we're talking about the resources we have and reevaluating how's the resource allocation going, and not just holding on for the sake of holding on and not letting go for the sake of letting go. And if one person on the team, perhaps the person living with dementia, is wanting to make use of resources in a way that doesn't seem safe, then we'll want to protect those resources for that human being later on. But if someone else on the team is trying to hang on to resources, perhaps for themselves or for the future, it might be time to involve another team member in re-evaluating and figuring out, does this make sense or does this not? Because we all have perspectives. And it's going to be important that I listen to multiple perspectives before I make a decision. And maybe we want to collaborate on the decisions so everybody feels valued and involved. But there may be times when we have to make a hard choice. And the question of how much to share what decision we've made about those resources might be one that we have to think through before we act on. And consider, not everybody needs to be involved in all decision making. So resource allocation, vital in this process of living with dementia, but challenging in many ways to manage. So bringing the team together and deciding what to involve who with is really important. And it's going to change over time. So don't get rigid, but do understand it's important to appreciate.